Good morning, everyone. CTV News is reporting Oland murder case highlights having enough money can be key to a successful defense. So this is something that I picked up on in 2011 and just kind of been idly watching this. It's an interesting case, to say the least, but it's even more interesting that this verdict has come down yesterday, I guess. And, well, here we go. Legal experts say Denis Oland didn't get any special treatment before the courts in his murder retrial, but the case shows how having money can make a difference in mounting a successful defense. Last week, a judge found Oland not guilty of the bloody 2011 murder of his wealthy father in St. John, the culmination of 6 years of legal wrangling. Nicole O'Brien, a law professor at the University of New Brunswick, says Oland had the resources to pay a defense team to follow up on every aspect of the case by hiring experts and by taking aspects of the case to the Supreme Court of Canada for determination. Okay, so I've been paying attention, but maybe you haven't. So here's the timeline. Global News is reporting the timeline here, so we'll look at it. In July 7th, 2011, Richard Oland is found dead in his uptown St. John, New Brunswick office. July 11th, 2011, police say Richard Oland was the victim of a homicide and that it does not appear to be a random act. August 16, 2012, court documents are released showing police believe Richard Oland was murdered. May 17th, 2013, more court documents are released showing that police suspect Denis Oland murdered his father. November 12th, 2013, St. John police arrest Denis Oland. September 16th, 2015, Denis Oland's first murder trial begins. It lasts 37 days and involved 42 witnesses. December 19th, 2015, Denis Oland is found guilty of second-degree murder by a jury. He's automatically sentenced to life in prison. October 24th, 2016, a New Brunswick appeals court overturns the conviction, ruling the judge did not properly instruct the jury. A new trial is ordered. Denis Oland is released on bail the next day. July 2017, the case is taken to the Supreme Court of Canada, which decides not to hear appeals. October 15, 2018, Denis Oland pleads not guilty in his retrial. November 20th, 2018, Justice Terrace Morrison declares a mistrial after issues are raised about the jury selection process. The jury is dismissed and the trial proceeds with a judge alone. On July 19th, a couple of days ago, Denis Oland is found not guilty. So that's the twisting, turning overview of this. And it's just interesting to watch our court system at work. It's interesting. So what happened to Mr. Richard Oland? What happened to lead them to believe that it was a second-degree murder, and now total not guilty, complete exoneration? It seems like there's some details missing. And I don't have any details to offer you. I don't. I just know that he was found not guilty. And man, it seems like there's more to this story. But worth noting. This is our legal system. Okay. The Post-Millennial, moving on. Post-Millennial is reporting, media spreads misinformation about Trudeau government's economic rebound. This is Spencer Fernando 3 days ago, and here we go. When Trudeau and the Liberals were at their lowest in the polls, many people, myself included, predicted that the establishment media would start trying to turn the tables on the Liberals' favors as the election neared. And lo and behold, that's already happening. For example, the media is trying to claim that the viral Trudeau must go hashtag was pushed by bots rather than a vast number of Canadians who want Trudeau out of office. And now they're trying to push a message of a strong economy even when the evidence says otherwise. A recent Bloomberg article had the title "Economic Rebound Gives Momentum Ahead of Fall Election." Strangely, the article cites Trudeau's numbers in a Nanos poll, but also notes pollster Pin's shift among women on Pence and abortion debate. I scroll down a little. Also, claiming that there's an economic rebound usually needs to include evidence of an economic rebound. In fact, we are seeing just the opposite. Canada's annualized rate of GDP growth for the first quarter of 2019 was an anemic 0.4%, far below the rate of inflation. Overall, GDP growth projections for the year are worse than last year, which were in turn worse than the year before. And the jobs picture isn't looking too solid either. The ADP, Canada's National Employment Report, says Canada gained 30,400 jobs in June. That sounds good. However, the report includes a massive downward revision to the already bad job numbers in May. Originally, ADP had reported that minus 16,000 jobs were lost. The revision number was minus 30,000 36,700. So in the past 2 months, Canada has lost a net 6,300 jobs. How can that be considered an economic rebound? Manufactured narratives. This is a pre-planned manufactured narrative by much of the established media in an effort to compensate for the endless scandals faced by the Trudeau Liberals as the election nears. Of course, it's not the media's job to compensate for negative coverage of the government if that negative coverage is deserved based on the government's record. And things are even worse when we consider that the Trudeau Liberals are campaigning on the taxpayer dime under the pretext of government announcements while simultaneously restricting social media ads, which hurt the Conservatives worst. Now, we know what to expect in the run-up to the election. Facts twisted into untruths, false narratives, and the government trying to buy us off with our own money while they lie right to our face. And yeah, we're watching that and documenting it in real time here. It's pretty incredible. Here is PEI, and I've been reporting often and a lot about the housing problems that are ripping across Canada, from British Columbia to Toronto, from Charlottetown, not Charlottetown, sorry everyone in Charlottetown to Halifax and Newfoundland too. Housing prices from rent to owning, property taxes, and really prices of everything are through the roof. It's unbelievable. And so, with that context in mind, here is a CBC article talking about PEI. PEI's housing crisis forces Syrian refugees into cramped quarters. Quote, "We're looking around for an apartment, and we certainly don't have anything for August." A group which sponsors refugees to come to PEI is scrambling to find a home for a Syrian family on their way to Charlottetown. The couple and their 19-month-old child are flying from Jordan and will join members of their family already on the island. But due to a record low vacancy rate in Charlottetown, the sponsors have not found a home for the new family. "When we first started this, I don't think the vacancy rate was quite as bad as it is now," said Rosemary Henderson, a chair of the Interfaith Refugee Sponsorship Group. "Until a home can be found, the family will stay in a crowded 3-bedroom apartment in Charlottetown that will house 4 adults and 4 children, including the newcomers. It can take months, even years, to finalize a sponsorship," Henderson said. Part of the reason for the scramble is that the group only had 2 weeks notice of the family's arrival. Quote, "We didn't have enough money just to rent an apartment at some point, hoping that they would come soon," said Henderson. "Now we're looking around for an apartment, and we certainly don't have anything for August, but hoping perhaps we'll find something for September." The latest family is the 5th family and that the Interfaith Refugee Sponsorship Group has sponsored. The group was formed in reaction to the Syrian civil war. It is aimed to bring just a couple of families to PEI, but was overwhelmed with more than $100,000 in donations. Now the funding has run out, and the family arriving next week will be the group's last sponsorship. Interesting that regardless of the record low vacancy rate, regardless of that, it is still Canada's policy to continue to bring in 1 million more people over the next 3 years. That's the Liberal policy. Is that what you want? Why? I'm not sure why anybody or how anybody can defend it. It doesn't make sense economically. It doesn't make sense. And we're not solving problems in their home country. Not at all. We're not helping Syria fix the problem. All that is happening is people are moving to Canada from refugee camps. And I understand that those individual people may be better off slightly in Canada, but if they're just moving from one cramped handout to another cramped handout, and in this one, they don't speak the language and don't have family connections, and these specific people do because they're joining their family. But for the vast majority, they don't have the family connections, and they don't speak the language, and it's a very difficult transition. So I'm not sure, I'm in fact very sure, I am sure, that Canada's policy on this isn't the best policy to help the most people. It's not. Okay, and that's the point. Thank you for watching, everybody. Check out thepeoplespartyofcanada.ca and have a wonderful, wonderful day.